This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Buzzard Roost Saddles. Buzzard Roost Saddles was born in the swamps of Santa Maria, South Louisiana, and their purpose is to get you standing over your next carcass so you can pick them clean. Proudly made in the USA, every Buzzard Roost saddle is handcrafted with a patent-pending system that brings you independent angle adjustments on your top and bottom panels to provide ultimate comfort. Standing by their motto, "We ain't fancy," Buzzard Roost helps you get the job done without making things overcomplicated. If you're looking for the next tool in your hunting arsenal, you can connect with Buzzard Roost Saddles on Facebook and Instagram, or you can visit their website at buzzardroostsaddles.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hunt the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Adam Bowlds, and today I'm joined with Kyle Swann of Arizona. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Good. Running around like a chicken with my head cut off like most days, but I'm good. I made it. So I'm gonna have you do a little introduction and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got started in hunting in the outdoors, and then we'll kind of roll into some elk hunting stuff.
Perfect. Yeah. So like I said, I'm Kyle Swann. I'm 23 years old. The way I got started hunting, I kind of remember it very, very special. Like my dad was always, "You have to wait till you're 6-year-old to go on the deer hunts with us." As soon as I turned 6 years old in August, I was like, "All right, this fall it's going to be big." So then I finally got to go with them, and I got to see how the deer hunting went down on that aspect. And being 6 years old and seeing that, and seeing at that time, just being that little and seeing that like big of an animal down, showing and seeing the work that went into it and having that kind of perspective of it. And like after that, it was just an addiction, honestly. So then, I just wanted to be doing it in, year out, then my uncle, he did a lot of horseback hunting. So when I was like in that 10 to 12 range, would go back in backcountry doing horses with a lot of elk hunting and stuff like that. And that's where my elk hunting kind of really got started, was that. It was being able to go on those, those big elk hunts on horseback and being able to really understand, like, then that's when the work really began, was understanding how much work goes into that. Especially seeing the elk go down is a lot bigger, and all the processing and all that stuff and all the packing. And it just shows you how much respect at a young age I got to have for these animals is something that I think is huge. And being able to be taught those, the respect for them from a family that has that, I think is good too, because, having them teach me the wrongs and rights of it is something I always hold my integrity to when I'm out hunting. But yeah, that's how I got started, but then through like my teen years, I was playing football and that took up my whole fall, and it kind of sucked. So then I got an archery because they had the January season in Arizona. So got an archery pretty good when I was about 16, 17 to do those hunts. And then, then I went and played college football. Then that time frame, then like I shattered my collarbone.
Oh.
And when I was like 21, so I was like, oh man. So then I was sitting there on next fall, I was like, man, what am I going to do now since I can't do this sport I like? Or, what I thought I was always going to do. I thought, I was like the one of those kids like, I'm going to go to the league, man. We're going to make millions of dollars. But that obviously didn't happen. So it kind of went back to the core of where I was, and something I'm very passionate about, something I want to always contribute to is hunting and conservation and be part of that world. So having that desire, I was like, all right. So then we went to guiding. So we were doing guided elk hunts, and, then the rest is history. So right now I'm just guiding all fall this year. Then hopefully at the end of this fall, we're going to try to get our own website going and our own guide service and try to break out from outfitters and doing things my own way,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, for a guy from Southern Indiana, it's hard for me to put into perspective kind of what one of those animals is like, as far as hunting them and size wise. I've never been west of Missouri, so all that big game stuff you guys got out there, it's a dream of mine to come out there and hunt. So I envy you for that, definitely. And I like how you talk about, you know, your family kind of teaching you, and we'll get into some of this later, but your family teaching you kind of the ethics, you know, when you were younger. I've just seen stuff through the years, the way that guys do things and carry themselves. And it kind of makes you wonder, you know, if their parents or whoever introduced them didn't kind of teach them the correct ethics. Because you do, when you're on public land, even private land stuff, you do see some wild stuff, and you're like, man, did your parents not tell you like that was wrong, or do you not read the regulation book, or you know, even stuff that's not illegal, but it's just kind of on the unethical side. So yeah, it's definitely something good to learn at a young age. It's something I plan to teach my son, and that's something that I learned as well at a young age, and I think that's kind of why I am the way I am, stickler for the rule books and kind of doing things, you know, the right way. So I wanted to bring you on here to talk. We'll probably cover half the show on this, about elk hunting. How long did you say you had been elk hunting since you were what, like 14, you said?
Well, probably around that 10 age, you know, when I started going on those, you know, those horseback rides and going in there, then, you know, 14 was, yeah, when we started really getting going on it.
What states do you elk hunt in? Just
right now, just Arizona.
Yeah.
I'm planning on, you know, guiding kind of takes up that kind of time to hunt for yourself. But, you know, right now we're planning for on time and money too. You know, time and money is always one of the bigger things. But right now we're actually planning for next year, if we don't draw Arizona, which probably won't, you know, trying to do Colorado or Montana hunt. So we're planning the do-it-yourself kind of hunts out there and see if we get over the counter in one of those. I mean, I have like 2 points in Montana, so we might see what we could do in Montana and what we could do in Colorado and stuff like that. And, you know, Utah, I got 6 or 7 deer points in Utah, so hopefully we'll be able to use those eventually.
So I have to ask you this, and I've kind of always wondered, because there was a time kind of in my life where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go out west to one of those guide schools. They're gonna teach me how to guide. I've never even been out there, but like they're gonna teach me how to guide, and I'm gonna be a guide. Well, I didn't end up doing that, obviously, but I have always kind of wondered, as a guide, you know, you're taking a guy out or a girl, and you're getting them on the animal, getting them the shot. You're doing like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're doing most of the work other than pulling the trigger. Is that correct?
No, absolutely.
So does that kind of, I don't know if, man, I'm probably catch some flack for this, but does that ever give you like, does that give you your fix? Do you feel like you hunted or killed, or, you know, like outsmarted, or however you want to put it, that animal, because you did do everything other than, you know, release the arrow or pull the trigger? Or is it not that way? Maybe I'm completely wrong.
Honestly, like Arizona, the way I look at it is, you know, people take 10, 20 years to draw this hunt. So, you know, having them come out here and giving the best chance to succeed. And, you know, harvesting mature animals, I think, is a huge thing in conservation. So, honestly, I think I'm doing justice of helping them get a mature animal rather than them shooting a yearling or a spike or something like that, you know. But, you know, honestly, yeah, the main reason I got into guiding, I was like, I can't hunt elk every year in Arizona. I can't see the bugles in September. I can't do all that. So, yeah, so I would say that gives me, you know, and it gives me, honestly, another reason I do is just being able to show people the right way kind of deal, you know. And I don't want to be one of those guys that just like pushes you down your throat and like we have to kill like X amount of score. We have to shoot a 350 plus bull. We have to, you know, that's the thing. No, I bring my family into it. I bring, you know, like last late season hunt, my dad and my fiance were over there, you know, help do the cooking. Then, I mean, once we killed, like, I think my dad, his best friend, and everyone else, I mean, we all came up and pack that elk out, you know, and I, like I always said, I mean, that's where family and hunting and is, I think it'll always be tied together, and being able to show that to people out of state that aren't able to bring their family that have that same values, I think it's huge too. But back to the, like the fixed part of it, like the adrenaline and everything,
Yeah.
it is, but it's still different. Like I realize that too. Like you have your emotions to weigh down more because you're not the one, like you said, you're not the one pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
So I make a lot less mistakes than what I realize. So I'm not putting so much pressure on myself to do everything right because I feel more confident. I honestly feel more confident because I don't have the adrenaline and everything pushing me. So I make less mistakes, and you know, and and like you said, it is a chess match, and there is some gratification for that. But at the end of the day, it's just about, you know, harvesting a quality animal and respecting it, you know.
Yeah, you kind of see it from a different perspective, I guess, as a guy than as when, you know, when you're by yourself and it comes time for crunch time and you get all shaky or whatever. And
yeah. I remember my elk hunt last year in September. You know, I mean, we had a big old bull coming in, and I was calling. Then I remember, you know, it was earlier in the hunt, and this is one of the. I mean, we're gonna shoot the bull. It was one we're gonna pass on. So, you know, but it's still just the early nerves of it. And I blew just a terrible call, and I got 70 yards. I just kind of stopped and trotted back out. But you know, I mean, little mistakes like that can lead to harvest or not be. You know.
Yeah. You ever make mistakes like that and have issues with your clients? Like maybe he's getting ready to shoot. I'll just kind of lay like something out here, but maybe he's getting ready to shoot and you're like, no, let him walk behind that tree. And then he does something funny. And then you throw out a call and next thing you know, he does a 180 and takes off the other way. And then the client's like, you know, yelling at you and cussing at you. You ever have any issues like that? Or are they usually pretty like,
they're so wound up in adrenaline. They you know, they're happy they got that encounter, but
yeah,
I haven't run into it yet, but I could see it. I mean, like the last late elk season, this guy was fixated on this palmated club bull, and behind him, way behind him, was a 6x6, like 320, no broken tines, late season law. All right, we just need to wait for this one. He's like, I want that clubbed one. I was like, man, that's a really nice bull back there. He's no, I want to do this one. I was like, I mean, it's your hunt at the end of the day. Are you going to be happy with this? And he said, yes, sir, I'll be happy with this. And he shot it, and then the rest was history, you know. Yeah. So I let him pick them. I'm not going to be like, hey, do not shoot that bull. Like, you know, it's their hunt, you know, it's their tag.
Yeah. It's got to be, imagine a lot of guys come from out of state, you know, and they only have so much time off work and everything. So it's got to be, it's got to be even more like, you know, I put myself under a lot of pressure and I've got tons of time to deer hunt, you know, on the weekends and after work. But those guys, they might be off work for just a week and they have so many days to fill that tag. So they're like, go. And I can imagine that gets your anxiety levels pretty high.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into some DIY elk hunting. So for somebody just kind of getting started with no field knowledge, I guess, and kind of apply this to myself, what's a good strategy kind of for planning your own DIY elk hunt? And more specifically, somewhere like Arizona or, you know, out west to a place that I've never been. You know, I've never been west of Missouri, so I don't even know what it looks like out there other than the good old internet. So how can I go about that and make a smart decision?
Oh, well, it depends how much time you're willing to wait until you do it. Like Arizona, if you want to wait for a draw, then I honestly, I don't suggest for like a do-it-yourself hunter to wait for Arizona. I'd say go and do like an over-the-counter Colorado and go do that and get some experience under your belt. I mean, if you wait, you know, 8 years for an Arizona tag, I mean, that's where I highly suggest guides is in that situation. But I mean, if you're confident you take in multiple bulls in that time frame while you're waiting to get drawn for Arizona, then you have a lot more confidence and a lot more knowledge where you'll be able to do that. But for just starting off, do it yourself. I mean, I always say just start with like over the counter. You could do a Colorado, One of those limited entry Montana hunts. You go, there's a lot of one-time 100% success draw rates over there. So you do those. That's kind of what I'm looking at now as I'm planning my own, and New Mexico is a decent option too. They don't have a bonus point system, so everything's just random draw. So it's either hit or miss kind of. But yeah, I would say always just, if there's an opportunity to go try to take that opportunity and get your feet wet before you just waste a bunch of years and time and money and you go out there one time and you might not even get an opportunity because you're not experienced with it.
So don't take offense to this, but I've heard a lot of guys, when this DIY first time thing for a guy from Southern Indiana or Illinois or wherever it might be, some guy that didn't grow up out west, everyone's like, man, you need to do a guided hunt your first time. Let the guide kind of show you the ropes, and then next time you go back, you'll kind of know a little bit of what you need to do. Well, to me, it makes sense, but I've got an issue. I've got an issue with it, I guess, for my own self goals. I feel like it's not, I guess easy wouldn't be the correct word. I feel like it's almost tainted for me. I kind of want to do that on my own. I'm just stubborn by nature. I want to feel the whole wrath of the hunt. I want to feel the struggle. I don't want it to feel like somebody helped me, I guess, as bad as that sounds. I don't want to feel like somebody helped me do it and that I didn't do it on my own. So how do you kind of, as a guide, you may feel differently, and that's okay, but I would kind of like to get your perspective on that.
No, I completely agree. I'm the same way. Most people like guy are probably in their 50s and 60s, honestly. So these are guys that been hunting and been out to Montanas and the Colorados in their young years and did these huntings. These are the ones that have been applying for those Arizona hunts to get a mature quality animal. So I completely agree. I mean, just for the satisfaction, just for the growing as a hunter and stuff, being able to go do those do-yourself hunts, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm the same way. If I go to a different state, I'm not going to hire a guide. I'm going to go and I'm going to do it myself, So, I mean, I have a little bit more knowledge because of all the elk in Arizona a little bit. But going to Colorado, the country's going to be a lot different. And, being able to kind of diverse and, but I get a little bit more leeway because I could call some guides up in there in Colorado, talk to some outfitters up there, and kind of pick their brain and see, here's some good spots and historically in the past. And honestly, I mean, some guides and some outfitters might not appreciate it, but if you call them and just be like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, they might point you in somewhat of direction through e-scouting. But you look at this mountain, or you could look at this unit and give you some sort of an idea. But most of them are probably going to be a little bit hard-headed about it and be like, no, this is how I make my money. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Probably like 90% of them, but, I talked to some of them, and they'll be a little bit more lenient. And, it just depends on who it is.
Have you, what's something that you never hunted here in North America? Have you hunted black?
I want to hunt whitetail. That's one thing I haven't got. I've been hunting these stupid little coos deer.
Okay.
And, and those things aren't those whitetails that taste delicious up in the East Coast. I heard, from what I hear, is they're very good, and they have a whole tradition, a whole thing about whitetail hunting. I want to be part of that. That's another out-of-state hunt I'm planning to do eventually.
Would you, I guess whitetails are a little different. I was going for something more exotic, but we'll just kind of play off of that. If you were going to hunt something, I guess that was going to be considered like pretty hard to do, like maybe out my way or something, would you ever consider hiring a guide or no?
Yeah, I would hire a guide for a bighorn sheep hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I ever drew.
How come?
It's just a once in a lifetime tag. I mean, you only get one shot at it, and these people do it every year. So absolutely, I'll hire a guide for that. But
so you think it kind of, for you, it's just kind of depends on the situation, I guess. If it's something that you know that you're going to be able to try again, maybe the next year or in 2 years, you're probably not going to go the guide route. But if it's going to be like, you better get it done in this week, or you're never going to get to do it again, like you may want to.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You may want to. Yeah.
Yeah, if I draw like a buffalo tag or a bighorn sheep tag, yeah, definitely going to get a guide. Yeah, I mean, other than that, or even a like Alaska hunt, like a grizzly hunt, I'll definitely get a guide. I think you have to, but even if I didn't have to, I would. Probably a moose hunt too.
Yeah,
you're not gonna be able to do a moose hunt more than twice in your life.
There's grizzly hunt. That's my dream right there.
Yeah, I've been.
Someday.
Yeah, the fiance gets mad at me when I go up and look at these moose grizzly combo tags. It's only $40,000. Let's just do it.
It's not that much.
It's not that much.
Yeah, I've never actually had elk. I've heard elk is pretty tasty.
Oh man, I love elk. I absolutely take elk over any of the mule deer, antelope, or coos deer. I take them over everything over here.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot more meat off of an elk than I do a big old 200-pound whitetail.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, as far as like getting tags, for somebody that maybe is a non-resident or whatever, the tags and the buying the tags and the draws and all that, it can get pretty confusing. Is there any kind of advice that you would give for kind of doing, getting in a lottery and putting in for your tags? And is there any strategy that comes in for putting in a tag? Is it help you if you put in early? Does it help you if you put in late? Kind of talk about the point system and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like the point system in Arizona, there's definitely strategies to do it. I mean, the easiest way to get your points is you take the hunter safety course in Arizona, gives you 1 point. You take the ethic hunting in Arizona, that's another point. So there's 2 points right there, and each point's a year. So you're at 2 years right now, and honestly, you kind of have to do that just to be at 0 now because everyone's been doing it. But when you go look at the regulations, like in Arizona, probably most states too, especially for lottery draws, if you look at the tag number and the population of the total elk in that unit, you kind of get a better idea of how success that draw will be if you have a more chance of drawing it. So if you look at, there's a hunt that has like 35 tags. That's one of those considered one of those trophy hunts. So you're not going to really, that's probably for a non-resident, probably a 15 to 20 year wait. So, so it's picking those battles, but if you pick one that has there's one that has 700 tags for early archery hunt. You go do that one, there's going to be a boatload of hunters. There's going to be everyone on public land. Everyone is running loose. You have every Elmer Fudd in the woods at that point, and the quality elk aren't that great, but, you get to hunt it, and that could probably be for a non-resident, probably, if you get 2 points, probably 2 to 3 year wait to go hunt that unit, so there's other options and stuff, but, I always say New Mexico is always great too. Just how they have the random draw. That's a good one.
Now, do you have to purchase the tag prior to make sure that, that I don't put in for it and then say, hey, I don't have the money to pay you guys?
Oh, that's another thing. So when in Arizona goes, so you apply for the draw, I think for non-res is like $15, but you have to buy the year hunting license too. So that's another thing. So you have to buy the hunting license for the whole year and the permit draw. So then I think they draw the last week of March, and everyone just goes and checks their credit card every freaking second of every day, seeing if they got hit with the charge.
So they only charge you if you get drawn then.
Yeah. So if I mean, it sucks if you do get drawn and you don't have the funds in there, it just goes on to the next person. So you better just make sure you have that cash in hand or that credit limit up,
That's yeah, it's interesting. I kind of always wondered about, because I know here in Indiana, if you put in for like a military base hunt or something, you have to have purchased the license prior to, and here you have to buy the license and put in for it, to be able to put in for it, and then if you don't get drawn, like you still have the license, but it's, it's not going to be thousands of dollars either, so
Yeah.
it's a couple $100 or $100, so it's
Mm.
a little less of a hit, and you're probably getting a hunt anyway, even if you don't get drawn for those things, as to where there, you're probably just trying to get drawn for that one thing, and there's only one tag to buy. So,
Mm.
so I'm gonna kind of play off that I got drawn, and I'm gonna come out there, and I guess I just snagged me an elk bugle or some elk calls off the internet. I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm making my way out there. Can you kind of explain what you would kind of show me or teach me, as far as calling goes when it comes to like pitches and tones, when calling an elk?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for do-it-yourself hunters when they're first learning how to do it, don't do it. Just like honestly, just don't do it. Just do a little bit more spot and stock kind of deal. Especially if you only have a week to hunt where you're supposed to be. But I mean, because when you go in the different tones and everything, what I do is I start from a low tone, then I kind of go up. So you have that traditional, actually. I'm going to go grab my call real quick.
Heck yeah, let's hear it, man.
I'll be right back.
Stand by, everybody. We're about to hear an elk call on the Hunt the Wild podcast. I might have to turn my headphones down so it doesn't blow my one good ear I can hear out of. That's why I don't hunt turkeys, because I'm, half deaf and I can't tell where they're coming from.
Oh no, I'm not going to blow a bugle, man.
Okay, let's hear it.
So for the cow call, I'll start just the regular mew, just kind of something real simple, something real low, just kind of see how they react, and different things when they're in the pre-rut is a lot different than when they're in the rut. I mean, if they're in the rut and they hear that, they're running straight up to you, So the pre-rut's where you have to kind of play those little bit vocals with them. You have to understand like
what's appropriate and what's kind of
not. Exactly. Yeah. And the only way to find that is trial and error.
Yeah.
Because every elk's different. They all have different personalities. From a satellite bull to a herd bull, they all react different. But so like you go from to that to this, and just get that higher tone, and then that's going to attract them a little bit more. Then you could drag them out a little bit. You could do just kind of drag it out and drop, and just kind of play with that a little bit and being able to see what they're going to do and see what they like. Because, they all like different things, just like humans,
Yeah.
So that's something I do realize is like knowing those different tone levels and being able to play with that a little bit, it goes a long way when you're calling.
That sounds, very, very similar to hunting whitetails in pre-rut and rut here. You may blow a grunt during pre-rut and a deer might be 20 yards from you, and he's behind a tree or whatever, you're trying to pull him out. He might not react at all. He may just walk the other way. But then you get in that deep hardcore, just like where those deer are just drooling and stupid, and you throw out that grunt, and like a deer that would never ever in a million years come to somebody using a grunt call, will come right in. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense about the time of the year and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear those calls, because I noticed the different pitches just a little bit, but I guess I had always just assumed that they were mostly just the same. I didn't realize that like a cow call had like different pitches for different, times of the year, different situations. I thought it was just kind of like a most bleak calls that you buy for whitetails. They pretty much sound the same. You don't really use too much of a tone. It's more of a lot of times you just try to make it loud, I guess, but the tone's mostly the same. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Then you go in the bugle tube, and once you get in the bugle tube too, with those little mews, you can do a little bit more other things with them. But just how long you hold them and how how much tongue pressure you get, that goes a long way. Just seeing how they react, especially when when they start trying to wind you and circle you and not really understand, like, because they're not stupid. They've been around. They know what September hunt comes around. There will be some people blowing horns out there, so trying to be able to mix it up and really get them on their toes is always fun. That's the funnest thing, is playing that little chess match with them.
So if I was gonna buy, a cow call and a bugle and get all that gear, calls to come out there,
Mm-hmm.
is there ones that are better than others? Does brand and price matter? Like, are you going to get more for your money if you spend a lot of money? Kind of like, what's all that stuff cost? And what kind of brand do you use, and why do you kind of choose that brand over others?
I run the Rocky Mountain elk calls, and I usually just stick with the Steve Chappell brand ones. So that's what I use. I started off with like some cheap little like $2 call, like Wayne Carlton or something like that, and I mean they work, but you're not able to hit these different tones, and each call does something else. They'll have double reeds, they'll have low cuts in them, almost like turkey mouth calls. Some will have these double, little cut things where you're able to hit some, lip ball bugles and some higher pitch and a little bit more whiny, So, yeah, so I usually just run with the Rocky Mountain ones. Those give you just more versatility, as to just the generic, cheaper ones. I think bugles, I think you should spend a little bit more money on if you're doing bugles. I mean, being able to project sound really well and being able to hit those deep raspy ones is really good to have. And it's the same thing, the Rocky Mountain elk calls, and the Phelps too. I mean, I've been reading some good things on Phelps calls as well. So those are bugle tubes, and those ones are pretty good as well.
So I guess for the bugles, is it the more expensive or the more money you spend, kind of the better raspy projection sound that you get? Is that kind of the deal, or does it really matter?
It honestly doesn't really. It's the user behind all the mouth calls, honestly.
Yeah.
If you're able to punctuate your throat and being able to hit those real raspy chuckles, I mean, it takes so much practice to do it, like a chuckle or a deep, right when they start, that big, like almost like it's just deeper. If you're able to do that, I mean, but once you do have a little bit more quality ones, you could hear the difference between a cheaper one and that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes total sense. I'm always a guy that, I'll spend the money on good gear, but I'll also use good gear that's, cheaper. I don't necessarily, I'm not really a big brand guy. I'm a big believer in, you could probably kill a deer all day with, a twig and some string if you had practiced with it for months and months and months on end. I think a lot of hunters, and I'm guilty of it too, get kind of caught up in the brand, and the more money you spend, the more successful you'll be. But I think a lot of it just comes down to practice, and that's kind of what sounds like elk calling is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just the more you do it, I practice on my way to when I go to work and stuff. I'll practice in my car, if I don't piss the old lady off.
Yeah.
So I'll practice in the car and stuff, and yeah, I try to practice quite often, especially now this time of season. I mean, after turkey season, I'll really get into it.
Yeah, you're definitely a guy that's got to stay sharp on your skills. You got people dependent on you when you're out there guiding. Yeah. So, I guess we'll jump into a little bit about gear talk when it comes to elk hunting. Obviously you're probably carrying a GPS or, a phone with OnX or whatever you're using. And water and a knife and stuff like that. But is there any gear, specifically that you've found over the years that's really helped you out and helped you be more successful in the field? Is there anything that kind of sticks out in your head? And maybe it is something simple like a knife, but
Oh,
what's something that somebody should invest in or make sure that they kind of have before they're headed out,
mm,
to spend thousands of dollars and waited 10 years or whatever to get drawn for a hunt or whatever the case might be? What do they need to make sure they bring with them?
I always think really good glass will go a long ways. Not having lower end binoculars and glass. I think glass always out west is something really good to have. But I think honestly clothing.
When you say glass, just for anybody that's not familiar with it, kind of explain what that is too, because there may be some newer hunters on here and they might not know.
Also, glass is just basically your optics, your binoculars, spotting scope, rifle scopes. So I'd say having good quality glass in that aspect, being able to see large distances out west is something you have to do. You have to see 2,000 yards, and having that gear helps them find animals. I mean, elk, you're thinking, all right, those things are freaking huge. You don't really, they'll be easy to spot, and they're not. So having good glass helps a lot.
Would you say that's your number one thing that's probably helped you out, is like a good spotting scope? I imagine your pack is probably pretty
that's
important, because you're I imagine, like, if I was to guess, because like I said, I have no idea, I would assume that your boots and your pack would really matter, because you're probably on your feet a lot of the day and you're probably carrying a lot of weight, especially if you shoot one.
Oh yeah, if you shoot one, you definitely need a good pack. Like in Packwoods, I run Mystery Ranch. I run the Beartooth when I do my Beartooth 80 for when I do my elk hunting. That, then I use the Pitler and the Metcalf for deer hunting. But for that elk hunt, I always bring that big boy, because packing all that weight, I mean, it's, you have 130 pounds on for freaking 4 trips.
Yeah.
But yeah, pack is a huge one. Boots are always something really. Boots and clothing, I think, is another one I will spend more money on almost every day of the week. Being able to, especially in Arizona when it's hot and stuff, being able to have long sleeves that keep you cool and not stink you up is something big. And having that good clothing, lightweight, breathable, that you're not just stink up the whole forest. And having that where you can wear a couple days into the hunt is always huge. And late season, staying freaking warm while you're glassing and sitting around, is always beneficial.
So I know you're not on a ton of social media, so maybe you're not aware of this, and maybe you are. There's lots of, let's just call it, drama around clothing these days. Sitka and First Light, and whatever people are wanting to wear. So sometimes I ask my guests what kind of clothing they're rocking. So I'm kind of curious, what do you wear when you're out elk hunting?
No, I go with Kuiu.
Yeah. See, yeah. I almost guessed that. I almost guessed you're one of those guys. I don't get that answer very often.
Oh, I think Kuiu, because I ran Sitka before, and I had like this Kilix stuff too. I mean, it was all right. But, Kuiu is the most flexible, breathable, lightest weight ones I could find. And, I mean, they help. I mean, yeah, I think they're worth every penny. I don't care how expensive they are. But I think they're definitely worth the money when you're out from like 20 degrees to 85 in September. Then you could throw on the Peloton and still be warm. And the late hunts when it's freaking 10 degrees and snow on the ground, It's just very versatile.
It's always interesting to see, where, other people hunt in other states and stuff, kind of the different.
Yeah, I noticed that like east side's more First Light. Then I think like Montana is more, guess Montana, Washington. I think they're more Sitka. And then like out west, I think is Kuyu. In Alaska, almost everyone I know Alaska does Kuyu.
Yeah, it's weird how it's kind of region based, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
A lot of people, I know around here that hunt. Most of them are rocking either old Army surplus gear or some stuff from Walmart, or cheap camo from Cabela's or Bass Pro. But I'll tell you what, man, I wore that stuff for years and bought new pants and stuff every year. They fade, they get wet, they weigh 7,000 pounds when they get wet. So I switched to First Light this year, man, and like anything, it's an investment. But I couldn't be more than happy with it. I love how quick it dries. I love how it layers, and it's really packable. It's amazing that I can get one of their hoodies and a sock hat and gloves all in a pouch that I used to only be able to fit one hoodie in. So for me, that was super important because I'm always packing around camera gear and all this other stuff. So I'm sure you know how it is to pack all that stuff and need to be able to save some room.
Absolutely.
So I guess for people that have never hunted elk before, your fitness is probably pretty important. I can see that maybe, and you probably have a lot of experience with this guiding, but I can see that kicking a lot of people in the ass. They're probably like, I can just see a guy getting ready to go on a hunt a month prior, and he's like, man, I'm going to go to Planet Fitness and get in shape for this hunt. Then he's like, man, I can run. I'm doing okay. Then he shows up there and it probably just like beats him to death. How important is it to be in shape? And kind of, if you were in my shoes, you're from Indiana, where it's, we have a little bit of hills here in Kentucky where I hunt, but it's probably nothing like you guys have. How would a guy like me get in shape to hike around a mountain for a week or 2 weeks or whatever it might be?
Honestly, when I go, I honestly put some weight in my pack or get like a little vest, and I'll just go on those stair climbers when it gets closer to season. And I'll just go climb, at least I'll try to get like a mile a day on the stair climbers and knock that out. I'm trying to aim for that 5 mile a week kind of deal, just on stair climbers and going, just going little hikes around, just go and find a nice little hill to go hike. Just keep that weight on your back so like this is what it's going to be, because it's a lot easier to just go do that stuff without weight on your back. Then load it up. Do some ones where you're putting on 100 pounds of when you have meat on, so you have that feeling. And because a lot of people don't do that when they get on the mountain, they're falling all over. Weight where they're able to maintain it, and that's something big. Being able to do that is just basically put the weight on your back and hit stair climbers and little hikes around is always beneficial.
I can just picture in my head the looks. I'm, one of these days I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to come out there and elk hunt, and I'm going to have to prepare for this. So I guess I'll get me a big pack and load it down with 100 pounds of weight and walk into Planet Fitness and get on the Stepmaster. I can imagine the looks I'm going to get.
Oh, what's that thing they have at Planet Fitness? That lunk alarm or whatever?
Yeah.
They'll go off immediately.
I'm just going to go in there and start stuffing all the, the little weights and stuff that have the alarms on them and stuff them in my pack till I get to 100 pounds. I guess I'll know when I get there because I can just look at the weight. So, I'll figure out how much weight I got on me. So you think steps then are the most important thing, like climbing steps, because that's probably the most similar to the terrain and what you're doing.
Yeah, because it gets vertical quick, and being able to be on those steps kind of simulates it. But you can't really beat just being able to find a nice mountain and just kind of crossing it and just climbing it. That always helps. Always sidetrack the mountain if you see one, or when you have the opportunity to, is always good just to be able to throw your pack on and get some little bit of experience of it.
So I'm curious, how many guys show up there? Because here we wear muck boots a lot, or I wear muck boots a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with muck boots out there or not, but They're just like rubber slip-on boots, and you ain't climbing a mountain in them. They're more for walking cornfields, and that's just what I wear here because I don't really need a whole lot. But a guy like me probably going to buy a new set of boots to come out there to elk hunt. How many guys show up with a brand new set of boots they've never worn and just have their feet torn apart?
No, that's one of the things. Like, if you're gonna get new boots, at least wear them. Oh man, I tell them at least try to get 10 miles on those things before you get up here.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, something I don't want to hear about your feet hurting and having that and having. I don't want to pack you out while packing everything else out.
You ever have guys show up that don't do that?
Oh no.
No.
A lot of them are, like I said, most of them are like in the 50s and 60s, and they have these worn out boots, and like, you gotta break them in, man.
Yeah, they're almost too worn out.
Yeah, they're too worn out. They're broken in. They have holes in them. Yeah, that's mostly what I see.
Yeah, that's you think most people probably think you just load up and go out there and shoot an elk. You grab a rifle or a bow or whatever, but there's I'm a real preparation guy, so I'm always like trying to pick all the pieces apart, like everything in my pack and my boots and having them broke in and being in shape, and like there's a lot to it, man.
No,
especially for the money you're investing.
Oh yeah, the biggest and the best gear you can possibly get is a 120 quart ice chest. Yeah, at least 2 of those, because a lot of people don't come with ice chests and like, what do I do with this meat? Like, what do you mean? So they have to run over and get some ice chests. But always pack those ice chests when you're going on an elk hunt. And I'm telling you, I think 220s and a 45 quart will be plenty.
And you usually keep ice in those in the truck, or is that something you kind of you get afterwards?
You kind of hit it afterwards. You always like to pre-chill them, but you're not able to. I mean, like it's a September hunt, we kill. We get back to camp. We'll have ice there, and we'll get that on ice, cool the meat off as soon as possible. A lot of times I like processing it, so I'll start cutting freaking the loins, start getting some steaks prepared, and start cutting off the roast and start putting them in baggies for them. I'm like, here you go. You could this will feed you the next month.
Yeah.
Then while they go and get their ice from the old gas station or something, while they're doing that, I'll be cutting their meat up for them.
You ever get any crazy dudes out there, maybe girls, I don't know, that are like they shoot their elk and they want to take a bite out of the raw heart or smear blood all over them or eat the eyeballs or anything crazy like that? I mean, I'm sure you see some characters as you're guiding. It's got to be some stories.
There's no character. Honestly, I haven't seen anything like that. Most of them are, like I said, just 50, 60-year-old men. That's all I've guided, honestly, so far, is those later in that just retired and they've been trying to get this when they retire. And a lot of them are down to earth kind of dudes, but one story is one, like we're gutting one out right where he shot him on the game trail. Another elk started walking down, and it was bigger too. It was a nice 6x6, and he was like, I'm gonna shoot it. I was like, what do you mean? We got this right here. And he was like, that was way bigger. I was like, no, don't even think about it. And he's like, I mean, it literally came to 15 yards with us. And I was like, yeah, don't. So that's one story, but so everything went fine. But,
that's good. Yeah, that could put you in a hairy situation, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Not a situation you want to be in. So I basically drew my tag, got all prepared and everything. Getting ready to head out west, in a month or so. How am I gonna scout for these elk for a place I've never been? I mean, probably gonna get on OnX, be number one in Google Earth, but is there anything specific you're looking for? And does somebody need to kind of show up early? Do they need to show up 2 or 3 days early, or is that something that you just kind of learn as the hunt progresses?
It depends. Like if I'm preparing, like how I'm preparing for this Colorado season is, archery always go later than earlier. That's when the rut gets better. You don't want to go early when they're in that pre-rut. You don't want to have that stuff going on, where they might be talking, they might be still being bachelor. So that's one thing, is always prepare for the second week if it's a 2-week hunt for archery. Then like e-scouting wise, honestly, what I do, I'll look at trailheads. I'll click on trailheads. I'll pull them up on like all trails and stuff. And I'll go and see what hikers are posting. They'll post photos and stuff. And I'll go look at those and kind of get a little bit better feel of the country rather than seeing it on X and Google Earth and that kind of stuff. You get to see a little bit more how vertical it is, what kind of vegetation, kind of see like, oh, that might be a good feeding spot and stuff like that, So being able to pull up those little trailheads and kind of see those pictures, I do that, and then I'll go to that spot. You have a little bit more familiar where that country is going to be. Then you can kind of pinpoint where off those trails are. You kind of go up on a finger on a ridge and kind of see where the saddles are. So when you get up there, you don't have to find those things.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So you're mainly finding a trail, getting up to a high point, and then glassing. Is that kind of how it works?
I mean, yeah. So like what I do is when I go to scout the actual area from like those pictures, I'll see those pictures and try to get a guesstimate of where they're at. Then, because I don't really like to hunt trailheads, so I'll try to find a finger way off in the distance in that picture, but I want to go on that. So I try to find a way to hike on the map where I'm able to get to that. And that's where I'll try to go and try to glass all that area over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we kind of covered mostly, if somebody wants to try to plan their own DIY elk hunt, kind of get their feet on the ground and kind of the stuff that they need to prepare for, and the stuff that they need, and kind of gears them in the right direction. We just barely touch base on it, and I'm sure there's a ton more to know. But I want to transition a little bit into hunting ethics, which is something that you are pretty passionate about. Something that's, not talked about a whole lot. I feel like, I listen to other podcasts and stuff, and it's a lot of, what we've covered, gear talk and tactics and stuff, but I don't hear too much about hunting ethics. So if you want to tackle the hunting ethics subject here, I'll kind of put you on the spot, and we'll kind of jump into that. So the term trophy hunting has been around for decades, and it's used a lot, in the industry today. Everybody's talking about, is it a trophy, or I killed a trophy, or does he score enough to be a trophy? How do you feel about the term trophy? And do you think that it takes away or hurts the hunting industry as a whole? Hey guys, real quick ad from our sponsors over at Buzzard Roost Saddles. Buzzard Roost saddles are proudly made in the USA, and their independent angle adjustments on the top and bottom panels provide the ultimate comfort for those long sits. Buzzard Roost stands by their motto, "We ain't fancy," and they help you achieve your goal while keeping things simple. You can connect with Buzzard Roost Saddles on Facebook and Instagram, or you can visit their website at buzzardroostsaddles.com.
I don't think it hurts the industry. I just think it puts a bad name on it that I don't think people actually trophy hunt. I think that's the biggest thing. I think people go out and kill mature animals, and then the term trophy hunting is originated from anti-hunting organizations. They want to put it in a sport. They want to put it in a hobby. And I've never seen hunting as a hobby or a sport or anything like that. I see hunting as, it's our primal instincts. That's where we go back to. And having that adrenaline and having that food source is the most organic one. So I think moral of the story is we don't hunt for sport. We hunt to survive. And I think that's something that we need to have that we need to sustain forever. I think human beings need to hunt. We are hunters. We are hunters and gatherers. So that's something I always that I try to push. But the term trophy hunting, I think that's one of the last legs anti-hunting organizations had to stand on. And if we take that out, they really have nothing else to say, because that's the whole thing. Is it's a sport. It's a sport. It's a sport. They're killing animals for fun. They're just killing them, put them on their wall. And I think, some people might trophy hunt. Some people might do that. I mean, but it's like a 90% to a 10%. It's a 10% bad eggs that trophy hunt, and 90% of us don't. And going back to when I was growing up, having this I heard around it before it was on Meat Eater or anything. I was, my dad and my uncle I was asking about their mounts on their wall, and my dad and my uncle was like, so this is why we put the mounts on the wall. We put them on to show respect and show the animals that we are using them. We are eating them. We're eating them from hoof to horn, So, and not only that, we're showing the story of this animal, story of that hunt that we're able to cherish and respect that animal. So I think it goes a little bit further than, when you mount an animal, you're not mounting it as a decoration. You're mounting it as respect for the animal, So that's the point where I have a trophy hunting is, we're not trophy hunting, so why call it trophy hunting?
Yeah. So kind of two things. One, like, you can see the Euro mounts behind me. Like, I'm the same way. Like, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about the deer on my wall. Like, I really don't care. I put them up there as, a memory. It reminds me of that hunt. It reminds, my family, people that live in my house, kind of their experience with it. Cause, as as a hunter, everybody in your household is kind of tied into it. Even if they're not on the hunt, they're seeing you. For me, it's tracking a deer for 3 hours and dragging it home at 1 a.m. after you drove home 2 hours and hanging it in the garage. And it's just like a whole story. So it's like, for me, like hanging it on the wall and somebody walks in and sees it, like they don't know shit about it. Like they don't understand it. I don't really care what they think. Mm-hmm. And two, trophy hunting, the term trophy hunting it's a weird thing for me. And the word trophy, I guess, specifically is a weird thing for me because, one, when you go scoring animals in Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett stuff, it's almost like you have to recognize it as a trophy. Like people say, people will reference it. Is that a trophy? And what they mean by that is, did it make the books?
Yep.
And part of you wants to say, yeah, it's a trophy, but it made the books. And the other part of me wants to say, can we just like use another word? Because that sounds so, I'm not sure of the word that I'm looking for, but it sounds too sporty, I guess.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks that has become, that anti-hunting brought that kind of into the thing. And now, we use that term, and all we're really doing is fueling the fire for the antis, but we've come so used to using that term that it's almost like, what else do we use? Mm-hmm. And then also, when it comes to the word trophy, that deer might not be a trophy when it comes to the books, but it's like, it's a trophy to me. So like, how do I call it a trophy without actually calling it a trophy? Because I'm scared to call it a trophy because I'm afraid of, the backlash I'm going to get, somebody thinking that I'm a sport hunter. But in a way, it is a trophy to me, even if it's a nice sized doe or something, or, a squirrel or whatever it might be. I'm happy that I got it. It's, I don't know, man. It's just kind of like puts hunters in a weird situation, and people have kind of just fell into that trophy mentality. I don't know. I just think I think that word, it just kind of gives off the wrong image.
Exactly. I mean, it's rigging 2022. Everyone's offended by something, but I think the only reason I have a problem with the word trophy is just that negative thing where it gives the anti-hunting organization a chance. It gives them an opportunity. Like, these guys are hunting in the wrong ethical ways, and no matter how hard you could try to explain yourself, and like, but you have a trophy. You have a trophy. You have a trophy. It's not a trophy. It's a story. It's a respect for the animal, you know, and it's something that is real hard to really come to a different term. Like, I'm not offended by the term. I'm not like, let's just throw the whole trophy word out. No, I'm just saying, like, being proactive as hunters to keep hunting around, you know, if we're able to just eliminate the word trophy hunting from, like, you know, like I said, like outfitting websites and stuff like that, just being able to get rid of that and be like, that's a mature animal, you know, like we shot a mature animal, you know, did it make the Boone and Crockett? I mean, we could still have the Boone and Crockett, like, did it, you know what I mean? But I think having that term kind of, I honestly, the better way to do it is just, there's so many different ways that could be around this, or someone could find it offensive, or someone could find it, you know, like, I'm not going to stop saying something. I don't give a hell what they think, you know, kind of deal. But having the term trophy always brings the sport back into it.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, that's something that it's not fair, but it is, because, like I said, it's that 10% that are trophy hunters that actually go out there and just kill animals from some sick, sadistic point of view or something like that, as of actual hunters doing it ethical ways that are killing mature animals. And I always go back to even like in the meat eaters episode where they're doing the Wisconsin whitetail hunt, the standard. I mean, we could just go straight to just the standard. The standard is not the trophy, it's the standard. The standard for Boone and Crockett measures 180 for a mule deer. That's the standard, you know?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, man. I'm going to think on that. I'm going to, you know, everybody's so used to hearing, you know, that bird trophy to get it to kind of, you know, in our realm of hunting and, you know, everyone uses that term. I'm going to think on that, man. I'm going to make a t-shirt or something and use a different word other than trophy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to think on it, but like you said, it's just, gives the wrong impression and it gets thrown around a lot. And it almost makes it, you know, it sounds like a game, makes it, you know, to the antis, it's like you're playing a football game. You won a trophy, you know, you win a trophy playing a game, and hunting's, you know, it's a chess match, but it's not a game. So, you know, in the guiding industry, you know, is that something that is used a lot by outfitters for marketing and advertising? Like, if I go to Google and I type in an outfitter in Montana or Arizona or whatever, and they say, we help you kill trophy elk, what do you feel about that? Is that it's got to be fuel in the fire?
Exactly.
Is that's probably their selling point, though, right? Because people see that and they're like, trophy, it's got to be giant,
exactly,
cool, and is you know, can we get rid of that? Is that hurting the industry too from the guiding standpoint?
I believe so. I honestly do. I think that having that word trophy hunting, and as well as paying someone lots of money to go hunt it, looks extremely bad. I mean, I think it's easily, you know, a stepping stone for anti-hunting organizations to come after. You know, you're paying a lot of money to go hunt so-called trophies, and that's not what we're doing. You know, that's the frustrating part, is like, we're not doing trophy hunting. I think the whole point of putting the word trophy is, like you said, these are Boone and Crockett level animals. We get consistent, you know, bull elks who are over 350. We're getting these animals at this record, you know, and having those records and everything else. I mean, that could be a damper too, but at the end of the day, like, if we're shooting quality mature animals, that's saying is a point into conservation, you know, because if you're out there shooting, like I said, yearlies, you know, young animals, those young animals are populating. These big bulls already put everything in the gene. They're just like humans. They stop reproducing at a certain point. So once we started killing those mature animals, having their gene pool already in there, you know, has that has those younger bucks, younger bulls producing rather than those big bulls chasing them off and having the herds not reproduce as much. And I honestly believe that that is a huge point of conservation, is killing mature animals rather than small, not developed animals, stuff that's not in their prime, or even
Yeah.
shooting something that's in their prime rather than shooting a mature animal at the later end of their life.
Yeah, I think that, the term trophy hunting, the guide services and stuff use that, and that's probably how they make a lot of their money and pull a lot of their business in. And a lot of people on social media like to use the term, I killed a trophy. Maybe they're just used to calling it that because it's like that's how
Yeah,
they
I
define
think
a Boone and Crockett and all that. But it's like in order to continue your business and bring in a lot of business, you got to use that term, or to gain what they call clout or whatever, notoriety on social media or whatever. You got to use that term, but it's like it's helping you gain that, but at the same time, like it's gonna kick you in the ass. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's a tough spot. I'm not the
exactly.
guy to figure that out.
It's one of those political subjects, but
It is.
it's like that. Honestly, I mean, if you have mature animals posted on your website,
Yeah.
pictures and hunting speak way louder than words. You can say you have trophy animals. You can say we have these trophy quality animals, and yet you don't have pictures of them. I mean, if you go to a website that just has pictures and be like, these are Boone and Crockett's pictures. You'd rather say, here's our trophy elk.
Yeah.
Here's a Boone and Crockett elk. Here's our mature quality elk that we harvest over the years. Rather than, because like I said, I honestly don't believe 90% of people don't trophy hunt. It's just something it's something that came into the hunting culture that just stuck around, and it was never meant to be a negative thing. But now hunting anti-organizations are coming at us, making it as a sport and acting, I think as hunters, we almost have to be on that same front for as anti-hunters in the term of this, just to stay a foot ahead, so our kids, our grandkids can still be able to do this. Because that's a fear I have, being able not to have this for my kid, not to have this for his kid, So that's something that weighs on my heart. Like thinking, I gotta stay proactive in this just to make sure this sticks around for years to come.
Yeah. So I haven't. I've kind of had this in the back of my head, but I've never really mentioned it to anybody. The the term sportsman is used quite a bit too in this industry, and in the hunting culture. And I've always kind of had the same feelings about the word sportsman, as I do trophy hunting, because like trophy hunting, it turns it into, and just like the word says, sportsman, it turns it into that kind of game mentality. And that's probably even a bigger word used in the hunting industry and stuff than trophy hunting, because pretty much everybody is calling themselves sportsmen, whether they're pheasant hunting or deer hunting or I don't know how I feel about that word either. How do you kind of feel the same way, or how do you kind of feel about that? And it's okay if you have a different opinion, because
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of know.
Honestly, I think sportsman is a little bit more sportsmanship. I think it's more positive, way more
Yeah.
positive than trophy. But honestly, I don't see anything wrong with sportsman. I think it as like sportsmanship. You're being a sportsman. You're being a steward of the animals. That's kind of
Yeah.
what I think of it when I hear that. But I never really thought about it until
Yeah.
you really said it. But that does make sense. Like you go to sportsman's, and yeah, I don't know. That's something I have to think about.
It's probably however somebody wants to kind of take it too, and everybody kind of wants to put their own mix on how, like you said, everybody's offended by everything, and it doesn't really
Mhm.
matter probably at the end of the day when it comes to anti-hunting groups. It doesn't matter if you call it A, B, C, D, E, they'll probably figure out some way to turn it around on you. Um,
Exactly.
so hunting ethics, everybody kind of has a different definition of what they have, of what they kind of practice, and kind of their own mindset of what hunting ethics is. And I know this is probably a hard question, but you just try to do your best here. How do you kind of define hunting ethics?
I always come back to what are you doing when people aren't around? Kind of like your integrity kind of deal. Like, how are you providing? Oh man, this is a
It's
tough one.
tough. I know. It's tough.
But it's more like, what are you doing when no one's watching to be able to harvest an animal in quality ways? Are you going to, just like if you're hunting by yourself, are you going to follow all the laws and do this in an ethical way, kill the animal in the most ethical way possible, and being able to, honestly, all right, never mind. Scratch all that. Never mind. I think it's so much more simple than that. I think it's paying the same respect as the animal as the way you would want it done to you.
Yeah.
I think that could be a real simple way to put it, is like you put yourself, if you're the prey. If you're the prey and you're getting preyed on, are you going to want someone to drag this out? You're going to want it done quick and ethical and just get to the point and actually use what you are to progress generationally. I mean, we feed our kids, we feed our families these animals, and I think just the respect of having that animal is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Ethics, hunter ethics it's very, very hard to define because obviously everybody has a different perspective on it. I've just kind of an example of things that I've seen is see a lot of people argue over headshots on deer. It's like, that's ethical, it's unethical. And for me, maybe it's not, but like for me, it's unethical. I don't know why, but I just feel that way. But I know there's a lot of guys out there that feel it's okay to shoot deer in the head. And, everybody is kind of, I guess, entitled to their, their own opinion and how they feel about it. So, like you said, it's just kind of, I think you put it well. It's just how you would want it done to you if you were in the deer or the elk or whatever it might be shoes, and to do the kill as fast and as clean as you can with the least amount of pain or suffering.
Yes, sir.
So you've got to have seen some unethical stuff in your years trampling around public land. Does anything stick out to you of bad hunting ethics or something you've just seen or experienced while out in the field? Maybe it's private land or something. I don't know, but any bad hunting ethics stories?
Yeah, I mean, public land, I think the biggest one I see is whoever, there'll be people like, oh, I've been scouting this for 6 months. I'm on top of the ridge before you, man. It's always first come first. Whoever's there's first, man. I woke up first. I got here first. I mean, I've been scouting this as well. Like, it's public land. You got to respect. Like, I'm here first. I understand, like, if you've been scouting it for X amount of time, but like, you got beat there. You've been scouting other places too. I mean, this is this one spot. This couple. Probably 500 acres it's not yours. You don't own it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's one big one.
Let me stop you for a second. What do you do in that situation? If you're on top of this mountain and this guy's like, nah, man, like, leave. And you're like, I ain't leaving. Like, you both just sitting up there and it just runs it for both of you, or what?
I mean, most cases, what happens is, oh man, I get it, whatever. Then that guy heads down. But, I mean, like, dude, I'm sorry, but I mean, you've been scouting, obviously it's a good area. So
yeah,
wake up earlier next time.
The early bird definitely gets the worm when it comes to public land. Like, you better be getting up at 1 a.m. sitting in the parking lot. You see some headlights coming down the road, you better jump out because man, it can get
I don't know, I think it's a little unspoken little little ethics things like that, where it's like, I mean, I know you put a lot of work in to find, I mean, potentially where these animals are. So I respect that, but at the same time, I put in a lot of work as well. So, you know, I mean, it's whoever gets here first. I mean, if you beat me there first, I'm gonna see you up the hill. First of all, I'm not gonna walk up the hill and try to tell you, hey, I've been scouting this. Like, I'm gonna be like, all right, on to the next one. I've done that plenty of times. So I think it's just that little unspoken word of public land, you know. Let's see, another one. Oh, just people, or even like dove hunting, you know, and people will go shoot over the limit in public land. They'll go shoot over the limit, just throw them in their ice chest, and just go on like nothing else. Like, game warden's not going to come check on me. I'm like, dude, I mean, just you doing this for a couple years later, then all of a sudden there's going to be no dove hunting because people like you are going over the tag limit. You know, just having those little ethics goes a long ways, you know, and like, you know, it's something simple as that.
There's you know, I've kind of experienced the same thing, more or less in a cornfield than on a mountaintop, but I've been, you know, ground hunting whitetails tucked up in a bush, and I've actually years ago, it's probably been 10 years now, I was sitting on the edge of a cornfield, and it was about an hour before last light, you know, like I know in the next 20 to 30 minutes, like it's going to get good. Like I got there early, made all the noise I wanted to make, settled in, sat 2 hours, 3 hours to wait for this good last hour. Long and behold, here comes a guy walking down the field. He gets right in front of me. There's kind of there's a tree and like a grassy area for the tractors to drive when they're not driving in the field, and then the field, and it's probably a 20-yard distance. So he's walking down this grass section between the field and the wood line, and he walks in front of me. You know, it's getting close to prime time, and I give him a little whistle, and he stops, and he's only, you know, not very far from me, and he walks a little more, and I whistle again, and he looks, and he sees me on the ground. You know, I'm very well camouflaged, and I wave at him, kind of giving the sign of, hey, I'm here, thinking he's gonna turn around and be like, oh shit, man, like I didn't see you there, you're well camouflaged, like I'm gonna back out. No, he goes 60 yards, and I'm at the kind of the corner of a field, and he sits about 60 yards away from me underneath a tree, not brushed in at all, kind of honing in on this spot. These deer come out in this corner of this field every evening. And they were pretty on pattern at that point. And I didn't end up seeing any deer that evening, but about 20 minutes or 10 minutes before last shooting light, like when it's really getting good, like the deer are probably like going to come out. He gets up, turns on a bright flashlight, he walks right past me, and he leaves. He doesn't wave or anything. And that's like you were talking about, in the whitetail world here in Southern Indiana, that's kind of the ethical issues that I run into a lot is like, yeah, it's public land. You know, maybe he had been hunting that for 14 years prior to this young buck sitting on the edge of this field. But I was there first, and it's kind of like, really, man, like 60 yards away. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a hard situation because, like you said, it's public land. What are you going to do? Run them off? But it's like, yeah. I don't know. I can see that causing a lot of issues, you know, and a lot of fights. And I think that's why a lot of guys are turned off by public land.
Yeah. I mean, another one I think is a big one. I haven't ran into this yet because I said it pretty clear, but you know, I had a buddy of mine. He takes like a new hunter or someone that wants to get in hunting or someone that's been hunting for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. He takes them to a spot to go hunting. Then the next year he goes up in that same spot, and that he took him in the year before, and he comes up and he's like, dude, what are you doing here? He's like, you showed me this spot. Like, no, it took you one time. You're not supposed to come over here and freaking mark it down on Onyx and come up here and take these hunting spots out, you know? Like especially for me, like my family's been hunting since like the 60s, dude. And like, you know, we put in a lot of work to find these spots. And if I take you on here, I always tell them, like, if I take you, this is like a sacred spot. And if you ever want to even, if you want to see if it's okay with me, at least give me a call before it to make sure I'm not either there or something else. You know, those little ethics as well. I mean, if you take someone new to hunting, I think they should have the expectation, like, not just to go there just because you show them a spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It almost feels like, even though it's public land and, you know, everybody pays for it and everybody, you know, has the right to be there, it almost feels like somebody's robbing you a little bit because it's, you know, you've put in so much work, almost like a second job. And it's just like, it's like you plowing the field and growing all the plants and then somebody else coming in at harvest time and just whacking it all down with a combine and taking all the profit.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just, it's a weird thing, man. Cause you know, it's public, everyone's allowed. And,
yeah,
you just gotta, I think you gotta pick your battles and try to just kind of avoid that stuff as best as you can. When it comes to like the shooting the over the limit thing, there's nothing more that irks me than somebody poaching animals like that. Because that's, you know, that's what it is. If you're taking over a limit, you're poaching.
Exactly.
And I hear a lot of guys say, like, I shouldn't say a lot of guys, but I've heard people in general, like, just talk like, oh, I just shot one deer, like, without a license, like, it's fine. It's like, yeah, you and what, another 100,000 people do that. It's like, what does that do to the population? Like, there's a reason that that's a law. Like, I don't know, man. If I see somebody doing stuff like that, like, I'll be a Karen. I'll turn them in. Like, I don't put up with that poaching shit. I can't stand it. I'll be the first one to call game warden on you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm the same way. It's just like, it's not necessary.
No, it's greed. It comes down to it. It comes down to greed, and I'm not for that, man.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, or how do you feel, is the biggest obstacle that keeps hunters from being, you know, 100% ethical all the time? And I'll give my answer a little bit after you give your answer and see if we kind of have the same feelings about it. But, you know, what keeps somebody from straight and narrow all the time? What makes them want to kind of steer off?
Honestly, I think most of the time is mostly when people aren't, or it's probably when in that time frame when they're probably about 20 to like 28 and they're trying to get into hunting and they just ask a buddy to go with them. And their idea of hunting is driving in a truck, bringing some beer, waiting to see a deer. You know, and that happens a lot, you know, just a lot of road hunting and stuff like that. But I think the blind leading the blind is a big one where, you know, they don't know the right way to do it. They've never been shown the right way to do it. So that kind of steers it off. Then I think even like myself, if I see something, the adrenaline, holding your adrenaline back is always something. Like, you're right there in the moment. You know, it's just how that elk was, like, where he walked down the thing, you know, and we're gutting it out as a woodbury elk, and there's an urge there, obviously. But it's just the adrenaline. I mean, being able to overcome that adrenaline and being able to withstand that is another thing. But honestly, I think the main reason is, like I said, the blind leading the blind, and not going to someone that has put in the respect and the time into these animals as new hunters go into it. And these new hunters seeing like these Instagram posts and all these other things, like, oh, I want to go try that. And they go in blind, not knowing what to do. Then mistakes happen and they don't know their mistakes. To them, you know, and not reading regulations, just being, oh man, I got this tag. Let's go deer hunt, man. We got an over the counter hunt. Let's go over here and do it. You know, and, you know, they grab a couple buddies, like I said, and go road hunt and do that kind of stuff. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing. So being able to have a line or having, I mean, if you're looking to get into hunting, go reach someone that actually been hunting. I mean, I guarantee if you ask one hunter that's been hunting for a long time that you're interested in getting hunting, he's taking you that next day. He'll drop whatever he's doing and he's like, all right, we're going hunting. You know what I mean? especially someone that wants to learn. And if you want to experience that hunting, go ask someone that has experience hunting. If you don't have that access, you know, I mean, that's something kind of hard to find. It's someone that does hunt. If you don't hunt, you want to try it. So being able to, you know, just trying to find someone that does hunt that you don't know is something hard. But I think that's what causes people to go around the arrows, you know, social media influences and not knowing the right ethical way to do it.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head of what I was going to say too. I like the blind leading the blind, because I think that's a big issue. You know, you get a guy who's been hunting for a year or two. You know, his grandpa took him once. He didn't really pay attention to the hunting ethics. He just went with grandpa, and next thing you know, he's riding around in the truck, and his buddy's like, "Man, I want to go hunting." He's like, "I know how to hunt," and you know, he shows the other guy how to hunt, and I'll put that in quotations. And, you know, it's just passing on bad habits to the next. And it, you know, it's a cycle, and it continues on. And I think a lot of times those people, like you said, they don't have the respect. They haven't done it enough to fully grasp the whole picture when it comes to hunting. To them, it's, you know, just shoot the deer. It doesn't really matter if you shoot it in the ass and all, you know, different.
Yeah, the Texas heart shot.
Yeah. And, you know, the social media thing, man, and I've heard, you know, others talk about this too, is, you know, we live in an age of social media, and, you know, I'm on 7 different social media platforms. So I'm in that realm too. But I think a lot of people get caught up in the killing for content thing, man. They got to have the next thing to post on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever it might be. And it's like, you know, they go out and they're like, shit, like I got to make myself look legitimate. Like, you know, maybe this is a shot that I wouldn't normally take, but they're like feeling the pressure to like prove themselves. So they're like, you know, hell with it. I'll just, you know, I'll shoot it and I hope it works out for the best. I think that hunting, killing for content, man, I think that shit happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people that see it like, oh, that looks cool, and go try it and have no idea what they're doing and make a lot of mistakes doing it. And rather than, you know, trying to research more and stuff like that, I mean, they stumble across it, man, that looks fun. They stumble across a meat eater freaking thing, and they binge watch that. Then all of a sudden they're going out hunting, you know, it happens, but, you know, I mean, it could turn into something good. This is another thing. Like, social media is not all bad, you know.
No.
You know, especially for hunting, there's a lot of good that comes out of it. You get a lot of new hunters, and you get a lot of new hunters that do dig into that, but actually dig into it and start talking to people that hunt, and then they go and get the respect and go from there. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, ethics is always something hard to teach someone, or it's not really hard to teach someone. It's hard to have them just do it, you know, because everyone has different versions of ethics. And, you know, it's a sad truth that people have sick motives to do it, and it's frustrating, but, you know, that's just how the world is.
Yeah, I always tell people, you know, that always ask me to go hunting, and maybe I'm wrong for this, I don't know, but I have good intentions. I think maybe this is the wrong way to go about it, but if someone's like, "Will you take me deer hunting?" I usually say, like, I try to be honest, like, and I'm not trying to make myself sound cool or anything like that, but I always tell them, like, it's going to be rough. Like, I'm hardcore. Like, I'm not a guy that's going to take you out. I'm not saying I don't do this, but I'm not a guy that's going to take you out to sit on the edge of a cornfield in a little blind most of the time. Like, if you're going to go hunting with me, like, we're getting in the thick shit. We're going to climb trees, and we're going to hang out at saddles, and we're going to hang stands, and it's going to be hot. You're going to sweat. You're going to get ate up by mosquitoes. I try to make it, I know, God, it does sound bad, but like I try to let them know that it's more than just going out there and shooting a deer. Like there's a lot of work to it, and you got to kind of be committed to it. And I've found that weans a lot of people out. And I don't know if that's wrong, because maybe that person would be more interested in the outdoors if they thought it wasn't going to be, a literal hell or something. But at the same time, I don't want to take somebody hunting that doesn't want to kind of fully understand the whole picture and how it all works, and how it's not just going out and shooting a deer, and how there is a lot of work and suffering and ethics to it all. And I don't know, man, that's just something that I've always done. And I hunt, other than my wife, I hunt alone most of the time. And I steer away from hunting with a lot of people, because I know people's ethics are different, and I know people's ways are different. And I'm always scared that I'm going to meet somebody or take somebody hunting that I've met or whatever. And I'm scared that they're going to want to do something that's unethical, and I'm going to be put in this really awkward situation of, yeah, we're friends, but you want to do this shady shit. It's like, I don't know, man. I just try to stay away from that stuff. Maybe I'm wrong in that.
Well, no, I think that's perfect. I mean, I ran out of the same situation too. Like, oh, I want to go deer hunting with you. All right, let's go deer hunting. And freaking 4 miles later, like after that first day, nah, we head out now. It's like, all right, but I think that's good. Showing them the actual hard work that goes into it. You're not just going out here. A lot of people get lucky too when they first go hunting.
Yeah, they do.
And there'll be a freaking buck standing 20 years off the road. They shoot it. Oh man, that's easy. We do this every year. And then it becomes habit where it's just road hunting after road hunting after road hunting. And it's unfortunate. But I do agree with you on that. Like, it's a struggle. Like, when I do bring other people out, I try to lay the foundation. Like, this is what it's going to be. If you do anything else, we're done here. Like, well, I'm going to pack everything up and we're just leaving. Like, I don't play that. Or if and I'm like, literally, this is what's in the regulations. If you try to do anything other than that, that's not happening. So I kind of lay the foundation. Like, this is what's going. And before I take anyone hunting too, I kind of explain to them, like, when we watch this animal die, this is your first time watching an animal die. It's going to be kind of a surreal moment. I'll learn a lot about you in this moment. It's going to see if I'm going to see remorse and respect in your eyes, or I'm just going to see nothing. Then I'm going to have some problems or concerns. You know what I mean? So that's another thing where I try to explain to them, like, when we kill this animal, we're not just killing it. Like, this is going to be an animal dying. You're going to watch life go out of its eyes. So
yeah,
it's going to be surreal. And, how you react is going to be a huge deal. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of people react in different ways, but you always see the genuine person come out in that situation.
Yeah. I do say this a lot. I don't know if I've said it on social media or on here, but I tell this to my wife a lot. Because she knows that I'm completely obsessed with this, working on this podcast till 1 a.m. And I'm, completely consumed in hunting. I go to bed, thinking about it and wake up thinking about it. But I tell her, like, a lot of people, that don't hunt think, not that they think this, but it's kind of like what I feel like they think. They think you go out hunting, you walk in a field, you sit for like 10 minutes, a deer shows up, you shoot the deer, it immediately falls over, and when it hits the ground, it just kind of like, turns into ground and summer sausage and all this stuff, and it's just like, that's over. And that's not like, there's so much more to like just going out and shooting the deer, and you just have like this meat. Nobody really I've noticed when people talk about wanting to go hunting, nobody ever kind of grasps, like, new hunters never really grasp the work part after the shot when it comes to gutting the animal and cutting the animal up. And I I don't know. I think like a lot of people think they're going to be interested in hunting, and then it comes kind of, you know, they shoot the animal and they're like, you know, we're done. It's like, oh man, like it hasn't even started yet. Like we got to gut this thing and drag it out and cut it up and wrap it in freezer paper and get it home before it spoils. And
Exactly.
it's just, sometimes I wish people that wanted to get in hunting or think that they understand hunting would kind of see, you know, more of the bigger picture of it. We're not just going out and shooting a deer or an elk. There's way more to it than that.
Yeah.
So I guess to kind of wrap it up here, maybe have one or two more questions, but what do you feel is, and I'm sure it's going to be different for you than it is for me, but what do you feel is the number one unethical behavior among the hunting community?
Ooh, man.
And it doesn't, and mine's not going to be field related. And I can maybe answer mine first if you want some time to think about it. But mine's going to be more led towards online and social media.
Honestly, mine is the waste of meat, man. I see it all the time. People that go and just shoot animals and, you know, not having the knowledge of how to take care of that meat, you know, I think is a huge problem is how many people actually let people, you know, or just nothing comes out of it. They shoot an animal and the meat's left behind. People don't know how to take care of it. I think that's a big thing in ethics is taking care of the finished product. Like you said, that's where the work begins. And, you know, I think a lot of people need to do a better job at that. Yeah, that's my answer to it.
Okay, maybe I want to change my answer to that because I see that I see that a lot, and I hear a lot. You know how well, I don't know about where you live, but where I live, like you might go in a store and somebody, you know, you might go in and grab something before you go hunting, and you run into some other guy that's going hunting. You got camo on, so he knows you're going hunting, and it's getting that time of year or whatever. So he starts talking to you about deer hunting, and next thing you know, you're on the subject of, yeah, we don't even mess with the shoulders. Like we just pull the back straps out and the hindquarters. Like from that point, I'm always like, I got a phone call. I got to go. Like, exactly, man, like yeah. I don't even want to be, I can't, that for me, I agree. I'm the same way. I hate wasting anything like that. I just don't see how you can, you know, for me, like I'm shooting deer to eat them. I'm shooting squirrels and stuff to eat them. Like,
exactly,
you know, the rack and stuff, man, it's cool, but like, you know, and it's not my number one goal. The number one goal is me, and I just don't see the number one goal being me and then just like leaving half of it behind. I just don't understand it. But I'm going to go ahead and say I guess it'll be my number two now instead of my number one. But I'll tell you, man, hunters bashing other hunters on social media is gotten completely out of hand. And I know you said you're not on a whole lot of social media, and I put out a lot of content, so maybe I'm more subject to it, but like, golly, man, like we're small enough as it is. Why you guys like, who gives a shit? You know, as everybody's doing shit legal, like who cares, man? But it's cutthroat. I don't know. I don't understand it, man. I don't know if people are trying to like, if they put somebody down, it makes them look better or what, but like, there's only so many of us, and you know, we're trying to pass this on. So maybe we should stick together instead of slitting each other's throats.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to compare on. I don't have the Instagram or Facebook or much like that. I don't really see anything like that. That's interesting. I want to guess like other hunters coming out. Hunters, what do they say? Like
okay, so I'll give you an example. I've been I don't know if you have TikTok or not. A lot of people think it's for 13-year-old girls, but I get on there and I post like a bunch of hunting content. So yeah, download it and check out my videos because some of them are funny, I'll have to say. But anyway, so here in Indiana, recently within the past 5 or 6, 7 years, they allowed crossbows. Well, I'd always shot a compound. You weren't allowed to shoot a crossbow unless you had a disability like a shoulder injury. You had to have a doctor's note, whatever. crossbows kind of came into the thing. 4 or 5 years went by. I hunt. There's some different places here. There's what you call reduction zones, are more in the city. They're thicker sometimes. Sometimes I was like, man, I get a crossbow. Like, there's certain situations where, as you know, a compound is not as efficient as a crossbow. You know, it can fly through leaves and sticks a little better. Like, I'm hunting near these roads. Like, I need to make sure, like, not that I'm not confident with my compound, but I thought, you know, I can use a crossbow and it'll just up my game. And, you know, if something does happen, it'll be less likely that I'll make a bad shot with a crossbow. Deer won't run up the highway or, you know, run into someone's backyard, whatever the case might be. So I bought a crossbow. Well, this year I was hunting a new piece of property. I was hunting from the ground. It was like the second time I'd been on the property. I was like, man, like, archery season's almost over. I'm going to take the crossbow. Like, I don't know. I'm hunting from the ground. Things might get weird. Like, I might be crawling on the ground after this deer. I just thought, you know, like, for me, I thought maybe I would be in better condition in this situation to take a crossbow. So I took a crossbow. I shot that buck. That's anyone on YouTube can see it, but it's at the top of my wall there. It's the biggest one I shot. Shot it from the ground at 20 yards. Posted the bloody arrow on TikTok and immediately started getting comments, you know, crossbow this, crossbow that, hating on crossbows. I'm like, you know, like, it's legal. Like, I didn't do anything illegal. I don't know why. Like, I didn't fill an extra tag. Like, I don't know, man. There's something, maybe you're an anti-crossbow guy too. I don't know. Like, but I don't understand why it matters so much. You know, it was my tag. I put in the work. I spent all the gas. I put it on all the time scouting. I put in the work to get the permission to hunt it. Mm-hmm. I bought all the gear. I had one buck tag to fill, and I filled it. I didn't fill an extra tag. Like, why do those people care? They don't even live in my state. They don't even live within 300, 400 miles of me. I just, like, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, it cracks me up when people will bash somebody about shooting a crossbow, but then they'll go out with a rifle and shoot a deer from 500 yards. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
I just don't get it. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's another one. That's another ethical one I have a problem with. Like, out west, I mean, people are taking 12,000 yard shots. I'm like, come on, dude, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, oh man. All right. I have a video for you to watch though. We'll probably see how you feel about it. Search up the Jimmy John's, I think it's a 2020 commissioner's tag hunt on YouTube.
Okay.
And it's by Rogue Outdoors, and it's about this guy that he scouted this for, like, he was on this boat for like 3 or 4 years. And I mean, it was like a 470 bull or something ridiculous. But he drew the tag finally. Him and his wife drew it, and they were going to go hunt it. And then, you know, the commissioners came in. He was on it for that September. Commissioner's tag opens like August 15th. So August 15th came around. They went to his house and like, we're going to shoot this bull. And he drove up to that camp. He's like, I'm going to chase this bull out of here. But he didn't. So he shot it. And this whole, I mean, if you watch that video, it's crazy. The kind of stuff that goes on. It's like, what is going on, man?
Man, I'll never, you know, I've heard a lot of people say this too. And it's probably, you know, the same with elk or moose or anything else, but like, deer make people stupid is what I've heard a lot. And it's just like, you know, in that moment, you want it so bad that it's like, it's almost like it's like your mind doesn't register. Like, you're about to get cuffed by the warden. Like, this isn't right. You're stealing something from somebody else. Like, I don't know, man. Just like
buck fever.
That buck fever and that adrenaline, just, God, that's something that I think is important for new hunters to kind of, you know, learn very early. It's something you got to learn how to control, because it'll take a hold of you, man. And if you let it get a hold of you, you'll progress. And next thing you know, you're driving around drinking Busch Light and shooting bucks out of a truck with a spotlight. Like, I don't know.
Exactly, man. It's out of hand.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on here and talking some elk stuff because, like I said, I talk to a lot of people, and everyone always says, my dream hunt is to go hunt an elk. So I thought, like, get you on the show. We'll talk a little bit about elk gear, and maybe people kind of know what they need to get in preparation for if they need to get on the stair stepper with some alarm dumbbells or whatever it might be at Planet Fitness and buy some new boots and kind of get them started on how they need to make the path. But yeah, I appreciate you tackling the hunting ethics too, because I know that's it's kind of like an open-ended question. It's kind of hard to really give a correct answer because everybody is a little bit different. But I appreciate you tackling the job. I think you did a good job.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I know you got one social media account, so anybody not on YouTube that doesn't see it here scrolling across the screen, tell everybody where to find you at if they want to connect with you. Maybe they got some questions on ethics or elk hunting, or maybe they're a potential client of yours in the future. They want to come see what you're like to hunt with out guiding out there in the open land, the mountains.
Yeah, right now I'm only on the Go Wild app. It's under my name, Kyle Swann. KYLESWA, 2 N's. That's the only place I'm on right now. Like I said, I mean, this next fall we're gonna start pushing some stuff out on getting a website going and getting Instagram and start really trying to push my own guide service out there. But as of right now, that's where you can find me.
Cool. Yeah, guys, make sure you guys got any questions on the ethics thing or anything we talked about. You can always message me, or you can get with Kyle. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer elk hunting questions and ethics questions. And he understands the whole picture. He's been around hunting his whole life, and as I'm sure many of you have. But it sounds like he's got a good set of values when it comes to being an ethical hunter in the woods. So I appreciate it again, Kyle, and I'll catch up with you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Yep. We'll see you, man.
I'll see ya.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning into another episode of the Hunt the Wild podcast. If you enjoyed the show and it's brought you some sort of value, I'd love if you could give me a rating and a review. Just a few seconds of your time can help me better understand the type of content you all enjoy, and it would mean the world to me to hear from all of you.